Welcome, guys, for another episode of the Discipline Legacy Podcast. I got a good friend of mine, David Cohen, that I just met him recently through some other people that were also on the podcast, and been following him for a little while, and really grateful to have him here as another man of faith. So we're gonna go ahead and start off with prayer. Father God, Lord, we're just so grateful for this opportunity. We know that you were a part of bringing this together. We know that there are no coincidences, that your love is meant to be spread, and that you are in each and every one of our hearts. And we ask that we utilize this time. We know that this time is going to be used for your glory, and that that we're able to just spread hope, spread faith into the world, spread love into the world with this, and that you allow us to just be a vessel for you, and that we're able to share everything that you want us to share today, God. I pray this in Jesus' mighty name.
Amen. Awesome.
Going back to the intro, super grateful to have you here. Like I said, I was at the Inclusion Summit that I was invited to by Sam Ganem, she's the first female guest on the Discipline Legacy podcast, and saw your video there, and I was like, man, I gotta and connect with this guy. And then, what was it, 2 days ago? I was like, hey, let's do it.
Let's do it.
I'm coming. I'll be there Thursday. Yeah. So
yes, sir.
Thank you for making the trip all the way from Jacksonville. So welcome to the Discipline and Legacy Podcast.
Awesome, man. Well, I am thrilled to be here. Sam and the team that put on that summit are just incredible humans. I mean, yes. I got to meet most of them. We did some Zoom calls. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to be there because I was in California on a manly dirt bike adventure for 5 days, going 1,000 miles on a dirt bike across the Southern California.
Wow.
And I planned this thing like months and months and months in advance. So my good friend Anna went and represented us for at that event, and just great feedback. And grateful that, these connections, even though I wasn't even there, here we are.
Yeah.
And when you reached out, I'm a man of action. You caught me, at a perfect good time, and I'm like, boom, let's go. And I've been praying for opportunity. That's one of my prayers right now, is just like, God, put people in my life who can help me bring awareness to what I'm trying to do, and who can help me like put out more influence, because I want to impact more lives, and I want to help as many people as I can. But I don't have a million followers. I have a very small following because I was never the social media guy. I always promoted everyone else, and I always promoted my business, but I never promoted myself. So now it's time for me to really just shine that light and share with the world what I do, who I am, what my values are, what I stand for, and how I think I can help other entrepreneurs in many ways. So it's awesome to be here.
Yeah. One thing I've learned, because I was born in 86, so I was kind of raised in the technology realm. So I had MySpace, had all that stuff. And I tell people that, like, I'm almost 40, but I still know the technology part. But one thing I've learned is that you don't need followers.
Yeah.
Like, you don't, God will provide. And I say that because there's no other way to explain how the growth has happened and the amount of people that have reached out and said that, we're impacting their lives with this podcast. It didn't come from followers. It came from, like, God is going to put those people in your life. This is just another platform, and it's a double-edged sword. It could be used for good. It could be used for bad. A lot of people talk junk about it, but, we're fortunate that, it's turned into what it's turned into. I'm fortunate to give folks like yourself a platform to speak on and be able to share your life and your testimony. So,
amen to that.
Let's go there, man. Let's go ahead and let's start from, like, your childhood. Give a little bit of your testimony, kind of how you grew up and where you're at now.
You got it. So I grew up small town Virginia, a little town called Franklin. Population, a few thousand people. I actually lived in a smaller little area called Sedley. Population like 200. So it was like your typical town. One, no stoplights, little country store, mostly farmers, and we were just good old country boys. We just did country stuff. I mean, four-wheelers, dirt bikes.
There's a song that goes like that.
Oh, yeah. So we were just redneck kids.
Okay.
We were out partying in peanut fields and I worked for my dad. He built homes. So when I turned 15, 16, I started working with him and learned from him that if you're going to do something, you do it right. So the one thing that my dad taught me was just whenever we were building something, like you're framing houses,
right?
And, construction. So you're framing houses, you putting studs every 16-inch on center, and construction people will get a kick out of this because you always put a line and an X. You like line X,
right.
Line X. The X is where the board goes. The line is where the stud comes up. Well, I'm like, 16-year-old kid. I thought X means no. So I put all the boards. I built all these walls like all day, and I put all the studs on the other side of the X because I thought X meant don't put it there.
Well, it's still 16, but it's just a different side.
It's on the other side.
Right.
My dad made me undo every single wall that I built. He had me lay them down with a hammer,
break
it all apart, and rebuild it. And I was pissed. But at the same time, looking back, and then, fast forward 8 years after that day, I become a business owner myself. And learning those type of lessons from my father that if you're going to do it right the first time.
Right.
And that stuck with me.
Yeah.
And I think that was a big lesson in how I moved forward. Also, when I was about 11, I started training martial arts, and really wasn't a big guy, was a teeny little thing. Wasn't good in team sports because I never played.
Okay.
Sat on the bench in baseball, sat on the bench in soccer, and team sports didn't really speak to me. Okay. So I started training martial arts because you compete with yourself.
Yeah,
there's no competitor. So I started training martial arts, trained for 8 years from 11 to 19.
Which one?
Shorin-ryu Okinawan Karate.
Really?
So I'm a black belt in Shorin-ryu Okinawan Karate. A lot of people don't even know that because I only trained in Virginia, and I've been in Florida for 25 years, and I've never trained. But I think I could still make some damage. I could still make a little damage.
That's a big deal, man. I didn't realize that, even, for especially it was a jiu-jitsu, but that's a years and years process of getting to that point, and with dedication, discipline, and that's the biggest thing I think most folks take from, I think even with the younger generation with kids, is that they want you to learn discipline.
Yeah.
And you take that from it the most, and which affects you and later on as your entrepreneurial life. So
100%. So I think the blending of my father's, you got to do things right, and then the discipline and determination of learning martial arts, that created who I became later in life, as a man.
Right.
And I didn't know it at the time, but, I have this mentality that there's no such thing as failure. And no matter what you want to achieve or how far you think that you can go, if you can envision it, you can achieve it. There is nothing in this world or in this life that is unachievable. And
it's true.
That, I think, was I remember being that 11-year-old kid, and when I started karate, I was like, I'm going to get my black belt.
Nice.
So, and I know off camera before we were talking about vision and everything. So I think I've always been really good at casting a 5 and 10 year vision of exactly where I want to go, and then doing whatever it takes to get there.
Yeah.
And it's kind of treated me well. So grew up in Virginia, did construction, did karate, got in a dirt bike accident, broke my right ankle, broke my foot, tore my ACL, MCL, knocked me out of karate, knocked me out of dirt bikes. So kind of went through a period where I was just drinking and partying and not really doing a whole lot with my life, and decided that I wanted to move to Florida and restart. So I packed my clothes in trash bags and off I went, moved to Florida, slept on a friend of mine's couch in Gainesville, Florida. And then...
You Gator fan?
I'm not a Gator fan. I was a Virginia Tech fan.
Okay.
So slept on a couch, friend's couch in Gainesville, then got an electrical job in Jacksonville, ended up saving some money, getting my place in Jacksonville, and then off to the races. So now I'm in Florida. I'm 21 years old. I'm just doing electrical work and trying to meet friends.
Good trade.
Yeah, it wasn't a bad gig. I learned a lot. The owner was a super, super strict driven kind of guy. So it was good to work and
learn from somebody, that knows how to do it the right way.
Yeah. So did that for about a year and a half, and then I decided I wanted to be an entrepreneur.
Okay.
So called my dad and said, "Hey, Pop, I want to borrow $12,000. I need to buy a lawnmower and a trailer. I'm going to start a landscape business on the weekend." Well, he said, "I'm not going to loan you the money unless you quit your job." And at the time, I thought he was crazy, you know?
Yeah, because he's like, it's going to take forever to pay this $12,000 back if he's only working on Saturday and Sundays.
Yeah. So, and the premise of that was, I want you all in.
Nice.
And he told me these words: business is full-time, not part-time, son.
Yes.
And he said, if you make it a hobby for the weekend, your business will always be a hobby. He's like, how many guys do you see out there that have a lawnmower and a trailer who are a firefighter or a pump? And nothing against any of those guys that do that. That's supplemental income, and
right.
I'm sure it's great for them and their family. But it never really, a lot of people who have those part-time businesses, they never turn it into multi-million-dollar enterprise. It just is it's a hustle.
Yeah.
And it always stays a side hustle. So, again, just valuable, like grown man type lessons that my dad, smacked me across the face with, and grateful for that. So I dove in, quit my job, bought a lawnmower and a trailer, started knocking on doors, and just boom, business.
What better business to be in Florida?
In Florida. So, I'm just a little residential lawn guy. My first company name was Cutting Edge Lawn.
Okay.
And then I realized that there's a cutting edge tree, there was a cutting edge lawn care, there's a cutting edge this. So I'm like, I got to differentiate myself. I changed the name to my initials, which was DM Cohen.
Okay.
And we started, kind of building that up, started taking on some more commercial work. We were doing everything the wrong way. We had no idea what we were doing. I had a handful of employees, and we would just work all week and all year and then count the beans at the end. I wasn't running a business. I was practicing.
Right.
So, 8, 9, 10 years in, we actually start building a little bit of momentum. I did another name change to Kohen Outdoor as we started getting into larger scale commercial contracts and larger scale construction projects. We started separating divisions. I brought in consultants. The consultants helped us, map out the financial structure of the company, helped me create the vision that I needed. And just so you know, to relate with people's pain here, like I faced bankruptcy like more than one time. I lost 3 houses along the way, so I had 3 foreclosures. That 10-year journey that is a 15-minute clip on this show was 10 years of hellacious grit, grind, sleepless nights, never giving up.
That's entrepreneurship, though.
Exactly. So even after the consultants came in, we had to restructure everything. I had to reduce 30% of the staff. We had some satellite offices. I had a satellite office in Orlando, one in Tampa. Our main office was in Jacksonville. We were doing construction out of our satellite offices. I had to close those and just really get the reins back around the company and learn how to run it like a true business. And another thing is I was just too nice. As an entrepreneur, like I've got a good soul, man of faith. So I just always gave everybody the benefit of the doubt and said,
employees and everything. Yeah.
Everybody, I looked at it through the most optimistic lens. People would be like, this guy's not good, man. I'm telling you, something doesn't feel right. Like I think he's a snake, and it's okay.
He's a good person. He's got a good heart.
He's got a good heart. And then boom, next thing you know, he's stealing, he's borrowing equipment, he's using it on the weekend, or whatever. Yeah. So I got taken advantage of a lot because of my kindness.
Yeah.
And I had to learn that you had to have a backbone as an entrepreneur, and you also have to build a team. And I think what helped me was putting the right people and structure around me who could help me be the accountable person that I needed to be to run the business. So that was a huge learning lesson for me, as far as like learning to step out of the way and release the control of every piece of your company is when you can really start to grow. Because if you still are doing all the estimates, and you think that you're still have to do all the sales, and you're running all the operations meetings, and you're opening the door every morning. And, I think like in today's culture, it's like a hustle culture, right? To where you wear this badge of honor and say like, I'm at the office at 5 a.m. and I don't leave until 8. Well, guess what, bro? You're going to end up overweight, divorced, and spiritually bankrupt because your identity's in your business. You're not caring for anything else in your life. And all you're doing is you've got blinders on, and that's all you want to do is win at business, win at business, win at business. That's the devil, bro. Like, that's not life.
It's a we thing and everything, and I think God, that's a message, biblical message is that.
I just got chill bumps when I said that. That was the Holy Spirit going like, people need to hear that, because I think that's a huge problem in our society today is that you wear a badge of honor. Like, I work 80 hours a week and nobody's going to outwork me. And I get it, bro. You have to hustle. You have to work hard.
Especially in the beginning. But it's like a 5-year mark where you're like, hey, if you haven't figured it out by then, that you're just going to keep beating your head up against the wall.
Exactly. So, and of course, like, I had to be humble enough to look myself in the mirror and say, bro, you don't have this. Like, you don't have what it takes to take the business to the next level. You got me here, but you're not going to be able to take me there. Because I knew the vision. I knew I wanted it 8 figures. I knew I wanted a big company. I always envisioned that.
Right.
And I got to a point where we were about 5 million in sales. We hit a wall. And for 3 years straight, boom, boom, boom. Like, 1 year was like 5 million. The next year was like 4.98. And the next million was like 5.1. Like, we were stagnant. 3 years straight, we could never break over 5 million in sales. We were bleeding money. We were stressed. It was not good. I was like drinking too much. I'd kind of walked away from church, and I was overweight by 70 pounds, dude. I used to be 240 pounds.
Wow.
And in my frame, that's big. So I just let myself go, and I let the business almost kill me. And then I had to bring in people, and that's when we really just kind of started looking at that. But more than that is I had to look myself in the mirror and say, all right, you need to regain control of your disciplines. You need to gain control of your faith. You need to gain control of your life. Like, you are breaking so many promises to yourself that I was eroding my self-confidence. So I started pouring into personal development, started listening to Ed Milet, started listening to John Gordon, Bedros Keuilian, which now I work with him. So it's kind of surreal that I'm working with, a guy that, they're almost like virtual, like a virtual coach, basically. You know what I mean? Like, podcasts like this help so many people transform lives because it's free access. Now you have access to all these powerful minds that you can get access for free, but yet millions of people still don't do it. They just bump through life like a ping pong board.
Or they do it and not, just like you said, that it's the application part that's hard for folks. Because, I mean, even for you talk about it, basically twice that you went through the ringer with it, the 10-year period and then the period where, you lost yourself. And, like, what do you think? I mean, I guess that's like enough to get by mentality, right? If you're living in that we're doing the same thing every year. You're like, oh, well, we're doing 5 million. Some people would kill for 5 million.
Yeah,
but for you, you're like, I want 10, because you get to that point in business. But what do you think it was that, each time? Was it you as yourself, like, not giving it your all with the company, or what was it?
I was not holding people accountable, and I was not financially savvy enough to control the spending of the company. So I was like Oprah Winfrey. I mean, somebody's like, hey, the Bobcat's broken down or it needs new tracks. And I'm just like, sure. I didn't budget and I didn't forecast. So those were two things that really held me back, was not understanding how to build a company's budget and then hold people accountable to the quality and the budget.
Yeah.
I always performed really good work. So we always had a really good, strong name because we performed high quality work. But if you don't have a budget and you don't have like the tools and the framework that you need to really control like your your profit and loss is very simple. You've got direct cost, indirect cost, materials. It's broken into some categories, and in the trades industry, the only thing that you really control is your material and labor.
Yeah.
Your indirect cost is what it is. It's your insurance, it's your lights, it's your, that is fixed. Those are fixed costs.
Right.
So as a contractor or as a service business provider, your labor is typically your biggest line item, and it's the one thing that you can control. So if you're going broke, bro, it's just because you don't have the right systems in place to control your labor.
It's production, and yeah, all like, hey, we bid this to be done in 3 days. You guys have been there for a week.
Exactly.
And that's where the accountability comes in. Is like they think they're doing what they're supposed to do, and they're not doing anything wrong. But if they're only as good as the information you give them. So
exactly. So we started investing in certain softwares and tracking everything, and we put in a lot of protocols and a lot of different things in place to control those variables, even non-productive time, like stopping at the gas station. We started running numbers like, okay, we have 80 employees. If 80 employees all stop at the gas station after they clock in at 7, they get in their truck, they go to the gas station and all take a 20-minute burrito break, what does that cost your organization? Do you know those numbers?
Yeah, cigarettes. I didn't even realize it. I used to smoke cigarettes, but the time that you spend every 5 minutes you're smoking a cigarette in the daytime, that's an hour if you add them up all day, and it's like 10 guys smoking cigarettes, there's 10 hours of non-production going on, and it's crazy. Yeah, you don't think about all that stuff until you have to.
Until you have to. That's the key. So, I'll speed it up here. We restructured the company. We became a market leader in our market. We were doing over 8 figures in revenue. We won national awards with the NALP for some of the like country club type accounts and things that we did. We attracted a excellent private equity partner that came in and discussed their plan to expand in the Southeast, and was a gentleman that I knew for several years and actually had kind of mentored me a little bit. I reached out to him on LinkedIn 5 years before these guys bought my company. When you talk about like God moments, like people are put in your life for certain reasons and certain things, like I randomly reached out to a CEO of a company in the Carolinas and just said, look, man, I don't know what direction and vision like my company's. Back in that time when I was telling you I was kind of stuck at that 5 or 6 million, and his advice helped me along with consultants and my disciplines. And, it was a transition for me. It was like transformation, and transformation took the application. There's no easy way to win in business and life. It's all just grit, determination, hard work, sweat, trust, belief. And other than that, you got to do the work. You can pray to God all you want, but you've got to put in the action behind it in order to move the needle. And I just had a lot of people that, were pouring good advice into me. And one of them was this CEO. And 5 years later, his company's platform is the one who came in and bought our company because they wanted our business was the first out-of-state acquisition that they had ever made. And they wanted me to help them build out this region. So sold the business to private equity about a year and a few months ago.
Wow.
December of last year is when we sold, and now I work independently for the private equity platform to help them bring in additional sellers and roll them in. They're great guys, high-level integrity. They're not rolling up companies a million miles an hour to where you're losing the culture. They're growing it more it's the tortoise, not the hare. And they're a really good group of guys. They treated me very well. And, I plan on helping them build their platform over the next few years. And
nice.
I love the industry, and I want to help people in that industry. And, so that kind of closed the book on the 20-year landscape career. And then I just heard God speaking to me saying, David, you have a gift that you can motivate people. You can inspire people. You're good at like getting individuals to buy into your vision and your mission and you see more in people than they see in themselves.
Yeah.
That's my gift. And it took me 45 years to learn this, but like I look back and it's funny because, you know, the team that we built in the landscape industry is like one of those movies where you see, I think it was like The Rejects. What was the football movie where they were like all from jail and then they had to put together a football team?
I can't think of the name of it, but I know. Yeah.
But that was my squad. Like we were all, you know, everybody's tatted up and we're rough guys. And, you know, years back we would go to conferences, people would get in fights and knock their teeth out. And I'm like, bro, guys, you can't punch people in the face. We're at a conference. So I've been through all these things, you know, I've been through all this crazy stuff.
I have a similar story where the Bright Line Railroad, like I was the new supervisor that came in, superintendent, and all the guys from each crew that they didn't want ended up on my crew, the young guy, the new guy, and we were triple producing what 20-year superintendents were doing.
Hell yeah.
With, you know, the rejects. And we built a team. We were a family. Like we sat at the truck every morning and had our you know, like we all knew each other's families. Like it was a you know, and that's what you have to do is build that team. And you talked about 3 different times now. You know, I just want to bring that up because it goes with where you're going. But so bringing people in, right? You brought people in. You invested in your company, reinvested in your business, invested in yourself by paying somebody to help you. And you know, that's where, you know, folks are like, oh, are you into crypto? Are you into, you know, stocks? And like, I dabble here and there, but like the best investment I can make is in myself.
Amen.
And it is through, you know, finding people who know more than I do in business, hiring them to work for the company or hiring somebody to help teach me. And it sounds like that's, you know, what you did to gain the success and ultimately ended up being your out.
Yes.
And then now has brought you to your purpose.
Amen.
I was speaking to a gentleman the other day. He says, man, I love what I do. I love being a contractor, you know, and I'm like, well, how long until you sell it, you know, like, and he's like, I never thought about that. He's like, I love this too much. I would never sell it. You know, I'm like, so you want to die sitting in a chair, pulling your hair out, hoping people are paying you. And like, I mean, it's great. You love entrepreneurship, but I think entrepreneurship is a mindset and that you're guided to different seasons of your life. And that's what I brought up to him. Like, well, you could teach people how to build construction companies because you built one and you sold it, you know? And it's like, because people don't think like that.
Yeah.
You want to build this thing to get out of it. You don't want to build it to, you know, or at least have a kid that maybe wants to take it on. But nowadays that's few and far between. My son hates construction.
100%. Yeah.
He doesn't want nothing to do with it, you know, but
the legacy game is hard now because there's so much competition that the private equity space has created in all the trades industries that honestly, once you get to a certain point, you can't beat them anymore. Yeah. You have to join them because, you know, and it's around that 8-figure mark. If you're personally owned and operated company that's a heating and air, plumbing, electrical, landscape, once you're 10 million, 15 million in sales, you've got full-blown leadership, you're all set up. It's a big nut to cover. Mm-hmm. Your overhead is huge. And the bigger companies that are like 100 million plus that are making acquisitions and bolting on, they're using economies of scale. And they're able to get materials cheaper. They're able to save on their insurance because they're in captives.
Bulk buying and
there's all these different ways that they get to save. And then every company that they buy, they don't need their HR person. They don't need their, you know, they have everybody at corporate. So like they're able to carve out and get more profitable. So where you were at 10% net, they come in, buy your company, make a few tweaks. Now they're at 14. And now guess what? When you're a lower cost operator, you can price more aggressively and still make the same margin. So my consultants used to tell me, you know who wins the market? The lowest cost operator. Not the highest priced, the lowest cost. Yeah. Whoever can perform the work at the lowest cost wins the market. Yeah. And that's business. So as a sole owned and operated company, you're going to hit a point when you're going to have a really hard time gaining market share because all of the other operators in your market have $500 million backing, and they can just their costs.
Or they can operate with just cash flow and just because they got to sometimes.
Yeah. So, that's part of the private equity game. But I just think that there's a lot of education in it. And after 20 years of me being the owner operator and walking through and navigating selling a business, it puts me in a really unique situation to be able to coach other entrepreneurs, because there's a lot of coaches out there who are running a business, but maybe they haven't been through a business transition.
Right.
So they might not understand what's even driving the value of their business. And I learned a lot about how companies are valued, what the private equity space is looking for, and what's driving the multiple, what's driving, that multiple isn't derived solely off of net profit. They're looking at diversification of portfolio. They're looking at what sectors of work do you have,
How much equipment you got.
How much equipment, and how old are your trucks? How old is your equipment? How involved is the owner? This is a big one. And Big Dan, our mutual friend, talks a lot about this. It's like, dude, if you own a business and you're still running it, you're just a paid employee.
Yeah.
You're not an owner. You're literally just you're the highest paid employee.
Yep.
But you're locked to that thing. And guess what?
You talked about that you can't go on vacation and
and then you get burned out, right? And you go, man, I'm going to sell this thing. And then you go to put it for sale, and broker puts it on the market, and you get bull crap offers because nobody wants to buy a business that still depends on the owner to be there. Or you're going to end up with all kinds of crazy, carrot dangling, earnouts and all this other stuff. So I think educating owners in the service industry space is very important. And being that I've walked through all facets of it, I mean, I've been in the tank to where we were about to lose everything. I've had to do the restructuring. I know what it's like to build a team in leadership and actually have to train them and turn them into leaders, not managers.
Right.
Managers manage, leaders have followers. So if no one's following you, you're not a leader, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a good way to put it, is everybody thinks they're a good leader, but are they following you, or are they just listening to you because they're afraid of you? Are you managing them through fear?
Yeah.
Or do they really truly believe that you believe in them and that they're following you because you're making them a better human? That's when the needle starts to move. Is when
it's more than about work.
It's more than the money. It's more than work. It's about
connection.
It's that. And another thing that I like to say is leadership is the transfer of belief.
Okay.
If you can get someone to believe in themselves more than that, you can get them to believe in themselves more than they believe in themselves, then that is one of the highest forms of leadership, where you're taking someone and you just sit them down and say, I believe in you. I know you might not think you can do this job yet, but I trust you. I believe in you. I'm going to give you all the tools and resources. I'm going to be right by your side, but bro, you got this.
Yeah.
And you let that guy go, and I'm telling you, watch what happens. They will become a whole nother version of themselves. And it might take, like, that same guy, you message him at 6 a.m. Hey, bro, you hitting the gym this morning? Hey, check out this podcast. You got to drop the seeds as the leader. But as a CEO and a leader, if you're not doing that, if you don't have your A team, or you're, even down to the lower level, if you're not instilling belief, and if you're not like constantly encouraging them and telling them that you believe in them, then you're only going to get so much out of them. They're not going to grow with the company. They're going to hit a ceiling in their leadership and management skill set, and then they're eventually going to fall off. And the other side of it is that long-term vision and that mission and that purpose. And if your company has that, if you've got your vision, your mission, your purpose, and it's something more than money, if it's serving our community and it's making impact, and you start doing good in the community, and the employees get to see that they're working at an organization that's making impact, that's making a difference. Now it's not a job.
Right.
Now there's impact behind it. And once you can kind of create that, bro, you're on to something.
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense. Yeah, you said a lot of things that I haven't even thought about yet, as you know, in the space that I'm in, and it's like definitely value there for sure.
100%, man. And I think a lot of it on the like leadership side of it is they're biblical principles. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I know we haven't talked about the Called Counsel, which is my new venture that I'm really excited about. But the premise of that is biblically we're put on this planet to serve.
Yes.
You know, like leadership and ownership of a business is one of the highest forms of servant leadership. Like, God gave you the talents and the resources to own this business. He gave you the grit. He gave you the determination to step out of whatever you were in and start this thing. Like, that's a gift, step one.
Right.
Secondly, He's putting other people under you. He's giving you authority to lead them. That's a gift. And when you read, like, Jesus washed his disciples' feet. He didn't, like, sit back like the king and say, I own this joint. I'm Jesus CEO. Y'all are going to wash my feet because my name's on the side of the truck. That's not how it went down. But in real life, how many business owners and CEO run their life like, you know, they're the chief priest. They're the highest power. Like, you do what I say.
No, I never even thought about it that way. Yeah, I know that there's biblical principles, but there's still, like, I was talking to a gentleman this morning that's also a business owner, entrepreneur, and he's like, hey, he's like, you know, I feel like that they take my kindness for weakness, you know, and it's just a lot of times if you're not setting boundaries, but at the same time, like, you still have to be bold, but a faithful type of boldness and a ego-filled boldness are two different things. And it's hard, man. It's hard to differentiate. It's hard to, you know, like you said, find those people that can do that, you know, and we have to develop that.
That's the key. That's the key, is the development. And you can be saved, not solved.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, you can be a man. You can still hold up to your standard. Like, that's
you have to in trade industry. You have to. You still have to have a certain level of boldness about you to where people are gonna respect what you say.
Yeah. So you know, for us and for every other company owner, I mean, this is my advice: create 4 to 6 core values that you hire by, you fire by, and you run your company by. That is your, you know, create the mission, create the vision, create the values. That is your standard. Do the same in your personal life. Like, I have a personal, you know, purpose statement, mission
100%.
statement, everything. And, like, you know, I just had ChatGPT make it into a daily devotional for me.
Wow.
So I can read it every morning when I wake up. And, you know, I'm a man of God. I'm going to serve today. I'm going to have high level of integrity. I'm going to be a present father. You know, it's just, you speak these things out into the universe, and what you speak out, I think, comes back. It's like a law of, I don't know if you've seen the thing where, like, the guy drops the thing and, like, 1 goes up. He drops 2 and 2. Like, what you put out is what you get back.
Yes.
So it goes back to learning that as a leader, that what you put out is what you get back. So if you put out anger, you put out, and, you know, if you're the guy that's banging on your desk going, bro, if you do that one more time, you're out of here, then guess what? That dude's not going to come back. Like, eventually he's going to quit, or guess what's going to happen is that guy, that employee, that manager or leader is now going to act that exact same way to the people under them. And now that negativity and that animosity now floods your whole entire organization, and you wonder why the culture is toxic.
Yeah.
Because it started at the top. And, you know, bringing people in, doing it in private and saying, like, look, what's going on, man? Like, is there something going on in your personal life that I need to know about? Because I care about you and I love you, and I just don't see the same version of you that I saw a few months ago, so I'm concerned. That comes across much, much different than saying, bro, 2 weeks in a row, you didn't hit your numbers. If you next
Right.
week, you're getting shit canned. If you come in here next week, you know, if you hadn't made a
It's
sale.
going to tear somebody down to the point where they're, you know, yeah.
And then what happens is they leave that company, they go to work somewhere else, and then they set the world on
Flourish.
fire. And they're like, wow, dude, did you hear, man, Josh is doing great over there at that place. I'm like, how did that happen? Is
Right.
he had that in him the whole time, but our job as leaders was to instill the belief in himself, to be the best version of himself. And we can't instill that until we're the best versions of ourselves. And when we fill our cups with that, you know, biblical principles of love and compassion and kindness and self-control, once we're full, now it's spilling out on other people. And now all of a sudden, you know, like, and we talked about it off camera, you meet somebody at the gym, you meet somebody at a coffee shop, next thing you know, you're talking business, you're talking about your faith, you get into these deep conversations. I like to call those divine appointments,
Yes.
because
He sets them up.
God put them right there in front of you. Whoever was in that coffee shop that day.
Making T-shirts, folks.
Yeah.
It's going to say no coincidences.
Dude, boom, I love it. I love that. But those are when you're open and you know that God's working in your life for your good, then he's putting those people in front of you for a reason. You have a message that they needed to hear or vice versa. And those connections may turn into more business opportunities. They may turn into, you know, there's a need that you have that you might not even know you need, that person knows the person who can solve it. There's like this divine universe of connecting people that God's orchestrating all the puzzle pieces, but we have to be opened enough to see it. And I think that's why it's so important for you to ground yourself in your morning prayer and have daily routines and disciple groups and just trust and believe, because, you know, I like to say it like there was a lot of point in my time where I believed in God, but I didn't believe God. So the difference in that is like I knew there was a God.
Mm-hmm.
I still prayed, but I didn't believe that he was working all things for my good. I still thought I had to do it. I still thought if I wasn't there at 5 a.m, or if I'm not, I still thought the whole world was riding on my shoulders. Like the whole weight of the world is on me. And if I don't fix it, then all hell's going to break loose. And it's the most stressful place to live. It'll break you down.
You're telling my story, man. You're like literally like, and no, it's crazy because like, that's why I said no coincidences just a second ago. And because, you know, all this stuff is like, you know, I don't want to get to like, I fear failure so much that I try everything in my power to make sure that this isn't going to happen, or we're going to lose money, or like I have nightmares about it.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing that I have nightmares about is not being able to have these people feed their family. And that's a big, I've had more sleepless nights over like, oh, I hope we can get this job because, you know, we really got to make sure, I want these guys to have work to do. And you have a lot on your shoulders, and where I'm flourishing in the faith part and putting my faith in God and knowing, because every part of our business with Alliance has been, every part that has happened was God. Like, hey, you know, how are we going to pay this bill? Boom, phone rings. And so it's that leadership part was like where you're like, oh, instead of having that mindset, like, I don't care if I got to hire 10 people to get the right one. It's no, that guy might have been the right guy. If Jimmy leaves here and goes to the next company and flourishes, it's because we weren't doing our part to have them,
Exactly.
Believing in our values and what we stand on. And yes, we're pouring into the community, and yes, we're building the community, but we're not pouring into our people and our guys and that part of the growth, because if you get enough people believing in you, they'll go to the ends of the earth for you.
That is so true. You know, we are in the people business. So like you're in the land development business, you're in the people business. Yeah. I used to say that at my meetings all the time. I say, guys, we're not in landscape business, we're in the people business. And you really have to have that perspective as an owner. And that is one of the most powerful perspective shifts that you can make as a business owner, is that once you realize that you're not in the construction business, you're in the people business, that's when things change. Because you're only one man. You're not doing, if you're one person and you got 100 people on your team, you're 1%, and you're all the way at the bottom. Like the CEO, I look at an org chart reversed. The CEO should be at the very bottom. He should be there to serve everybody above him. There's no level to where like, oh, well, I only have 2 direct reports and I meet.
I say that a lot. It's like there's no big I's or little U's. That we're all puzzle pieces that have to go together for this thing to be a whole. And that, your job description is just is a different piece of that puzzle. And we're no better or no worse than anybody. If I got to go out, I show up to the job site and finish concrete with these guys unannounced, and the level of respect to see me out there with a shovel, shoveling curb with them is it sets the bar differently, because that's where I came from. But people don't know that.
Yeah.
Until you show them, like, man, I thought you were just one of them office guys until I seen you running that bulldozer.
Exactly.
Like, I didn't know you had it in you. And I'm like, brother, that's.
Yes, sir. And that's so powerful too. I mean, and I keep going back to biblical principles because it's the same thing. It's just like, you don't ask somebody to do something that you wouldn't do.
Yeah.
And,
or haven't done, but
or haven't done. So you being willing to put on the work boots, go out to the job site, and do whatever the entry level job is as the CEO or the owner. Being able to do that is going to build so much respect with the team members, and that's when they can start believing in the mission and the culture and everything that you're trying to build, because you're not just the guy who sits in the corner office and barks orders. You know what I mean? Your identity now is like, he's one of us.
But sometimes we let our passion get so much in the way that you lose sight of that, though. I think that has been a big part of, kind of my walk, is that, yes, I mean well, yes, I want so much for these guys, but at the same time, like, I'll do anything to get it. And that, if that means like, well, just get rid of them, we'll get somebody else, instead of, pouring some time and effort into, being our brother's keeper and lifting these guys up. If I can do it at a Bible study, why can't I do it in the workplace? And I think even for folks because that's the biggest part for me, is like not wanting to push faith onto people, because not everybody walks in faith, and is that the biblical principles are part of the world too. You can be of the world, because every religion you talk about, it's they're very similar.
Well, it's been an awesome conversation for sure. But when you think about as far as trying to bring biblical principles into your workplace, because this is my like next passion, really. Mm-hmm. It's like, I have a mentor in Jacksonville. I'm sure he don't mind me saying his name. His name is Doc Ferris, and Doc runs a company called the Sacred CEO, and he's been coaching CEOs for 15 plus years in how to make biblical principles applied to your business. And I've learned so much from this man. Like, he's poured into me. I'm not, he's not charging me. He's just mentoring me because he believes in what I'm doing with the call to counsel, and it's very aligned with what he's doing. His company and our company do basically, our mission is the same thing, is to help make entrepreneurs better by deepening their faith, really. And he's like, look, we're not competition, because there is no competition in the kingdom of God. Right. We're all building God's kingdom together. So like, that is so amazing when you think about it, because like, if you had 2 concrete companies that are both going after the same work, they're going to be like, bro, get off my turf, man. That's my guy. I work for this contractor. Get out of here. But like, when you're building God's kingdom, there is no competition. We're all building we're all rowing in the exact same direction. We just want to impact people. We just want to help people. We just want to deepen their faith, and we want to make the world a better place. Your coaching program, my coaching program, your podcast, my podcast, if it's for the good of the world and the gospel in building God's kingdom, then there's no competition.
Yeah.
Let's all work together to build the kingdom. That's what it's all about. It's like impact over income. It's it's working to do that. And I think the biggest place that like we can make like, or not we, the biggest movement and revelation that can happen in this country, it could be in the marketplace, because huge corporations aren't allowed to talk about faith. They're not even allowed to bring it up. They can't post about it. You'll get fired if you work at a Home Depot. Will fire you if you talk about church and God on a, and I know that because I've known people that have gotten like.
You said it before the podcast. You said that you had to separate yourself from a company to start promoting what you believe in, and even if what you believe in helps countless people that maybe even work for that company, the censorship that comes from the world today is crazy. Like I remember last year when Damar Hamlin from the Buffalo Bills he went into cardiac arrest on the field, and these guys were circled around him praying, and there was after the game there, as much as I'm a Dolphins fan and I don't like the Bills quarterback, he had a whole talk on his faith and how he believed that God had a part of that whole situation, and they took it off.
Really?
Yeah, it was like the first ESPN interview, it was on there, and then everyone after that, they took it off. They didn't want it to be on there.
Dude.
And somebody, of course, when stuff like that gets put on the internet, somebody, records it or whatever. So I got to see it, but it wasn't on there again. And a lot of that, it happens on a daily basis. And I feel like you can't be your true self, man, because you're scared of losing your job or scared of being a certain way.
Yeah. I'm luckily that God blessed me enough to be financially secure to where I'm not doing this. My next chapter of life is about impact.
Yeah.
It isn't about making more money. Do I want to make more money so I can give more money to causes? Yes. You know what I mean? Like I want to increase my net worth so that way I can increase my giving.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if I, right now I'm investing, I've invested over 6 figures into this new venture that I'm starting, and it's free. Like it's a free resource that's going to have biblical principles and tools and, access. I'm going to, donate an hour of my time a week or so or better for, doing a webinar a month and bringing in special guests to talk about how you can apply faith into your business. And, at the end of the day, if I can help 10 people, I don't know where it's going to go. I just know that if it's in God's hands, then I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to worry about how,
Well, I think you'll find too that God will still continue to overflow your cup.
100%. And I know that. I know that all too well. So, the goal is just to continue building out the resources that I want to provide. And, essentially, I know we talked about the private equity stuff at the beginning of the show. So, you look at it, I kind of have 3 buckets. I've got some private equity relationships and I still build relationships in the landscape industry to help people that want to potentially exit their company. So, there's any commercial landscapers out there who are listening to this show and you're in the Southeast.
Or anyone in the business. Yeah. And,
and if you think that one of these days you want to have an exit, I'd love to just, talk you through what that would look like. And then any entrepreneur out there who wants to just learn how to break through boundaries that are holding them back and get the clarity that they need, then I've got a one-on-one coaching program that I'll offer for that. And also the called counsel will be a free resource. So it's like, if you're an entrepreneur, but you're really not like, I'm not big in the church thing, I'm a good person, I don't need faith to steer me straight, nothing against you. I'll help you run your business, but I'm going to share my faith with you.
Yeah.
And I'm going to share my testimony, and I'm going to give you this free resource, and I'm going to let God do the rest, because I can't save you. Only God can save you, but I can be a conduit, and I can share the love that I know He's shared for me and all the valleys that He's pulled me out of. And maybe if I'm coaching somebody and I'm like, look, man, I was in the dumps. I had just lost a house. I was overweight, yada, yada, yada. Went through a divorce 4 years ago. So, the pain of that, having to recover from that,
Right.
the financial setback. I mean, it was a 7-figure hit, like boom, lost my house. Well, I mean, like, so here I was with this company doing $6, $7, $8 million a year, and I'm living in this little like rental apartment, rickety toilets, cracked up tile on the floor with my kids, no furniture, sleeping in a sleeping bag, and yet, I'm paying out tons of money every month, still having to run the business, still having to get up and be that leader, put on a smile, be there for my team. God's the only person who can pull you through shit like that, man. I mean, it's true. That's when I turned and I just said, back to the saying where it's like, I believed in God, but I didn't believe God, because there's a difference between knowing who God is and then fully trusting God.
Yeah.
So I've always known God. I've always, I was baptized when I was a kid, and my dad, we went to a little Methodist church, and, we prayed, and I've always been a person that gets down and kneels by the bedside every night and asks for forgiveness and repentance, and, but then the next day you go out and still do all the same dumb stuff.
Right.
Because you don't trust God. You're still the Lord of your life. So until I decided that, like, dude, I keep running in the ditch.
You got sick and tired of being sick and tired.
I got sick and tired of being sick and tired. I love that. And, decided that, hey, I'm going to fully surrender to your way. And that doesn't mean that there still isn't temptation. There still isn't, like, veers off to the side of the road and that you end up like skirt, like almost in the ditch. But you've got you've got strength around you, and you've got proximity. You got your disciple. You've got your group. In our church, we call them our mat carriers.
Yeah.
You need 4 people in your life you can go to with any problem. I've got a guy that texts me every morning at 6 o'clock. He texts me Bible verses. He's been doing it. We work in the parking lot together. We serve at church together. Like every morning, like if I forget to silence my phone and I'm out of town, I'm out of the, West Coast or something, and time change. It's like, bing, 2 a.m. I'm like, that's David. His name's David as well. But you got to have people in your life, you know what I mean, that are sharing the gospel, that are pouring good positivity over you, that are sharing Bible verses and scripture and praying for you. There's power in that stuff, because we're all broken. We're all sinners. But the power of of other people praying for you, and then it goes the same on the other side. Pray for your enemies. That's all when I was going through my divorce, I just kept praying for her and she got remarried real quick. I'm like, God, please just let them have a happy marriage. I'm so grateful. I'm so happy that they never had resentment. I didn't hold that. That's drinking the poison thing. You're drinking the poison thinking you're going to kill them.
Yep.
So we've covered a lot, man. We've covered a lot of stuff.
This one's powerful. This one's got some nuggets in it for sure. I definitely, obviously you talked about your faith. I mean, can you kind of just, so it sounded like it was more like you were brought up that way. But can you kind of, let's go into, what it is that you got going on now?
The Called Counsel is a free online community. It's still in a wait list phase right now. So thecalledcounsel.com/register will get you to my wait list page, and, put your name, phone number, email on the wait list.
So it's early.
It's early. So
okay.
As soon as the site, we're constructing it now. So essentially once we have the full program, which will be the monthly webinars, there's also going to be a program that's built into it called Abide. And Abide is a 5-week course that we have the workbook that you can download, and then we're going to walk you through how to hear the voice of God and how to apply it to your life and your business. So that's one of the free resources. I also am working with a gentleman right now who's creating some he's got an app, and I don't know all of the information on it, but you put in 25 different questions, and then it basically aligns you with where you are in your walk with God and scripture that can help guide you. So I don't know if you've ever heard of like the Blue Beam Bible or the.
I know I've heard of Blue Beam. I don't know. Oh yeah. I've heard of that.
There's a Bible app. I think it's called Blue Bible. We use that in the Abide. and it has cross references. So like you click on any verse and then you go to your cross references.
Yeah, I've heard of that. There's an app too.
Yeah, and you can type in, like something that you're dealing with. So what in the abide process, what you do is you learn to spend 15 minutes to 30 minutes every day in quiet time, in meditation, and then journal what your challenges are. Journal what are you dealing with in life? What do you want with your business? And you're building a relationship with God. It's not transactional, it's relational. So you're talking to him, you're asking these questions, and then essentially you can write those in there, and it's going to kind of align you with Scripture. That's going to help you walk through that. So that's kind of the premise of the called counsel is going to be, I'm trying to go ahead and put all the resources in one place.
Nice.
That you can, really just get easy access to these things. And then, of course, the monthly webinar will be, I'll bring in other faith-based entrepreneurs, leaders, speakers. You could come and speak and really just share what you do to help, align your faith and your life. And the premise of this is just to get as many like-minded believers of Christ who are in the marketplace who can be that voice.
Yeah.
Because I think, again, the biggest opportunity that we can make is in the marketplace. Because you go to church on Sunday and then Monday you hit the marketplace. Well, I'm calling marketplace work, essentially.
Yeah.
But, you go to work on Monday, and are you the same person? It's like you leave church and you're so nice. Come on, Becky. You let 3 cars go. You give the dude $1 who's got his sign up.
But what about Monday?
And then by Monday, dude, when you show up to the office, the phone's ringing off the hook. 3 people are late. A truck just broke down. A contract canceled. Is God still there with you?
Yeah.
Or is that just like out the window and now you're pissed, you're storming around your office? What are we going to do, man? Like, are you able to kind of keep that? So I just think that the premise of this whole thing is like, if we can build this community, and I want it to transform thousands of lives. I really do. I want to take it as big as I can get it and help as many people as I can. The goal there would be to kind of almost like a disciple group to where as it grows, we could break it off into cohorts. And I hope this thing goes all over the country. And, each region of the country, we can kind of have some cohorts where we're working together, discipling each other, helping, men and women strengthen this. And, Anna, I've spoken to her about potentially running the female discipleship side of the called counsel. So she's all in. She's like, I would love to do that. So, we're really putting all these puzzle pieces together to just make a impact.
Yeah.
And then from there, we would like to do like 2-time-a-year retreats. So like as it grows, we'll have meetups, maybe one on West Coast, one on East Coast, and we'll meet and we'll be able to kind of, after doing a Zoom call once a month for somebody for 3-4 months, you're going to be like, dude, it'd be so cool to meet you, come to the retreat. So hopefully, it'll evolve into having, 1 or 2 retreats a year. And, it can also, people who are in the circle or in the council, if they want to work with me one-on-one, if they've got a business and they're like, man, dude, this is what I'm dealing with. I joined the called counsel. I love the free resources. But on that webinar, man, you guys really struck something there, and I'm dealing with this. And I'm hoping that that's going to soften hearts.
Right.
Let people open up to what they're really dealing with and what their struggles are and what their challenges are. And, I'd love to help you. I'd love to let's jump into your life and let's fix this stuff and let's get it worked out. And the even cooler part is like, bro, if we grow this thing to thousands of people, if I can't help you, guess what? I know somebody who can. Somebody in the called counsel can help you.
That's awesome.
So that's essentially where that's going, and I hope to just.
You kind of just hit the nail on the head too, because I was going into the legacy or the impact, and I mean you answered 2 questions there. So, it's wait list only. We're gonna put the link in the bio to get access to him, and also get access to him at social media. Where else can people find you?
Yeah, so Instagram, it's just David_M_Cohen, and Facebook, I'm pretty sure it's just my name there. I haven't gotten on TikTok or any of the other media platforms, but really, I just need people to bring awareness. So I did start a YouTube channel, so I'm going to be putting out more shorts and different things, and I really didn't want to put the cart in front of the horse, so within like week, 2 weeks, like we should have full bore website. I'm going to have a personal website as well. That'll just be davidcohenofficial.com. And that'll house everything. That'll house the coaching. That'll house the called counsel and my Cohen Ventures, which is going to be the private equity side of what I do with working with owners who want to sell their business and things like that. So essentially everything Cohen is going to live under davidcohenofficial.com. And I'm thinking 2 to 3 weeks out that we should have all of that built, because of course you understand how this all works. You've got your funnels and you've got all the things that you've got to build and building that so it's easy to navigate and it's easy to find. And but dude, it's been a lot of work. It's more work than I expected. You're talking about a guy who started a landscape company from scratch and built it to over 100 people. And I'm thinking like, oh, this online thing's nothing. Like, it's going to be a breeze, bro. Yeah. It's a lot of work, man. Like just setting this stuff up, equipment, podcast. And honestly, like I thought it would be a lot easier to get followers. Like I've been posting my tail off and I get like 1 or 2 people a day. I'm like, woohoo, I got 1 new follower.
It's really the content. It's, the views, and then we'll bring the followers. But there's a method to the madness.
Yeah. So that's really where I'm at. I mean, like I said, just speaking in general, I really need people to just share my message and to come find me and at least just follow me, because I know that I bring value. I've been through a lot. And if I can't help somebody who's, if you just start checking off the boxes, okay, well, if you own a business, if you've been divorced, if you've been overweight, if you holy cow, that's 80% of the population. You know what I mean? It's like, and the other side of it is, I think that business stress hits different, right? And you nailed it when you're like, I have sleepless nights because I'm afraid, like, if we run out of work, I got these employees that aren't going to be able to feed their families. That's a stress only entrepreneurs know. So if you're working with, a coach or somebody that was really good in sales and marketing but has never felt that pain, I just think you're doing yourself a disservice. Like I said, that's why I love Big Dan. Big Dan's done it. He's been there. He's done the work. He's had the stress. So have I. I've had 100 employees plus. I've had the trucks break down. I've had the accidents. I've had the lawsuits. I've dealt with everything that you can think of as a business owner. And there's power in that credibility when you've got another owner who's saying like, this is where I'm at. This is where I need to go. But then like I chuckle because I see all of these other big time influencers, like, and no offense to them. And I hate that. Like, I don't know. I mean, I guess I'm not talking bad about anybody, but like Grant Cardone, if you're a landscaper, literally he's got a landscape ad. Hermosi, he's got a landscape ad.
He's 20 something years in. Hormozi's not, but I mean, that's
you know what I mean? It's like they have the following, they have the business credentials, but landscaping is a very unique trade. Dealing in these service trade-based companies, it's more about the people and it's more about the culture. And I just see so much of the world today pushing, let me show you the sales playbook. Let me teach you how to get more leads. It's all this whole structure mumbo jumbo and all this. But guess what, dude? Your systems aren't broken. Your people are broken. It's very simple because all the systems are the same. Like, there's software for all of it. Every company on the planet has a AI software or something that can help you run your business. And it's smart. It knows the process. It can help you with the financial, job costing, and it can help you with this, and can help you with routing, and it can optimize this and optimize that. So why do you need the playbook? You can pay $300-400 a month for the software. You've got the playbook. What you need is the people that are calling the plays.
100%.
If you can get the people who are calling the plays to really know the key people and to call the right plays, it's the same in sports, right? It's like, okay, you can have a great team, but if the coach stinks or they're not calling the right plays, if it's 4th and 1 and they throw a Hail Mary, then you're like, dude, you're calling the wrong play. And I think in business that happens so much is the people are burned out.
But if you don't know, you don't know.
You're right. 100%.
That's the key is that, folks, if some folks don't know it's broken till they see that it needs to be fixed. I mean, and you can go years and years and years and
I did
just enough to get by. And like you think you're successful, the appearance on the outside is, but guess what? You're just like every other company that's, just paying bills, and can stay afloat. Yeah, sure. But it's just going to be, like you said, stuck at that 5 million mark.
Well, and then what's going to happen is you're going to get divorced. You're going to have
stress.
It's going to lead to bigger things because if you can't carry that stress and that burden of barely making payroll every Friday, and then your wife's like, "Hey, honey, can we take the kids to Disney World?" And you're looking at your bank account, payroll's $50,000, you've got $40,000 in the bank, and you're like, no, we can't go to take the kids to thing. And then you're like, but you got 50 trucks sitting over here and you're doing, you're wearing a Rolex. You got all these dude, it's fake. You can barely make payroll. Like it's not fake, but at the same time, everybody's trying to keep up.
There was something I saw on Instagram the other day. It says, "Are you broke, or are you waiting on invoices, broke?"
I absolutely love that. We were waiting on invoices broke all the time, man, because, commercial.
But that's part of the process of entrepreneurship and having a business. Is like, hey, guess what? If these people don't pay, we're not going to work for them anymore. And not that they don't pay, but it's a time thing. And
it goes back to having the right people, because if you have a good person in your office who works collections, she's going to diligently call them. She's going to diligently email them. She's going to provide you a list every week as the owner that says, here's the unpaid invoices that are over 30 days. And guess what? If you want to collect the money, you pick up the phone as the owner and make about 10 calls. But you have a process. Like your office does everything they can, but I always had a list. After 45 days, anybody was at 45 days, my office, manager would put that list on my desk, and I'd be like,
"Hey, what's going on?
What's going on?" And they're like, "What do you mean we haven't paid? Something must have happened."
Right. And some people don't know.
And it was a missing link. Right. It's like your office was sending the email to the wrong person. It could be simple as that. But you got to stay on top of these things. And it's just as easy as a dashboard or a checklist. And again, you don't know what you don't know, but the tools are there. I think it's just having the right people around you and the right coach. And, our consultants, we were paying anywhere from $50,000 to $70,000 a year to bring them in once a quarter and do all the follow-ups and things like that. So when you look at like having someone like me as just to help you through that for a quarter of that, for $15,000, $20,000, you know what I mean? There's a lot of value in that. And I just think that more can be done than people think just by having the right proximity to the right people around you, because you've got the playbook. Yeah. And executing it and having people to hold you accountable, having somebody to guide you through those processes. And and then of course for me, I hope to strengthen their faith along the way. And then, for me, that's where the real impact kind of comes in. And the big picture of this thing is if I can get company owners more profitable and I can get their heart positioned to give and serve, imagine if we could have a movement across this country to where every company owner was tithing and giving 10%. Imagine the volume of impact that could make if you could get right alignment as a business owner to really, truly understand your finances, to get your profitability where it needs to get so that you can give generously and not feel like, because when you can't make payroll, you think you're going to tithe, you think you're going to, no one's going to go give to charity when they can't make payroll next week. So there's just a bigger vision and picture than what I see of what I'm trying to create. I see a very gigantic vision at the end of this thing.
Yeah, no, there's definitely value in it for sure.
So
I appreciate everything. Like I said, we're gonna definitely post all of his links in the bio. And guys, definitely subscribe. We're gonna subscribe to him, follow him on social media, and thank you again for tuning in for another episode of Discipline and Legacy Podcast. This is definitely a banger right here. So comment in the bottom and let us know what you guys thought. Thanks.